Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle, which is also the name of the channel. And that is all I have to say on that matter. So today we're going to talk about someone very fabulous, a trailblazer, an icon, which we are not taught about in school. At least I was not. So now I'm going to teach you because it is an important part of Danish history, theater history, cultural history, women's history. Of course, I start filming when they come to pick up the trash, which I thank you. By the way, it's important. It keeps our community going. I do appreciate you. You're just being a little bit noisy when I'm trying to film. So today we're going to talk about Betty Nansen. You might not have heard her name, except if you live in Copenhagen, you might be like, isn't that a theater? Yes, it is. And it was hers. She was a theater director and an actress and an all-around just fabulous ass woman who could probably beat us all up. So Betty Nansen was a Danish theater director, and she was an actress. I was looking for my primer. And a famous actress in both film and on stage. This is going to be so dramatic. And actually, not too far away from where I live, a theater with her name on it currently still stands and is doing some pretty interesting shows. I've been in there. It's very lovely. It is the only theater in Denmark named after a person, and it's named after her. How fucking badass is that? Kicking ass. So, Betty Nansen, whose maiden name was Møller, came from like an old theater family, a traveling theater family. I don't know what am I doing? Oh yeah, setting powder. Came from an old theater family, old traveling family, that eventually settled down in Copenhagen when her dad got long-term employment. Now, she didn't have a good education, and they weren't particularly rich, and she came from an artist background, so really the only thing to do in those times, I should point out, this was like late 1800s, there we go. There was really nothing else to do but become an actress. Like, this is what she knows, this is kind of what her family heritage set her up to do. So in 1983, I need to look down to remember the dates. In 1983, her dream of becoming an actress came true when she debuted on the stage at the casino in Copenhagen in the title character of Dora the Explorer. It was a play, and soon after she got another part, which was also well received, and a star was born. Then she met Peter Nansen, who was an older guy, very handsome, very flirty, a man of the world, very cultured, a free thinker, a modern mind, and she was like, do me behind the dumpsters, baby. So I'm just going to use this new palette to my collection, Essence Hello New York, because I want to do like a very gray look. So I'm just going to go into this like super light gray shade. Anyways, Mr. Flirtatron, hot stuff over there, 12 years older than her, and he just divorced his first wife, and she was like a young, pretty, up-and-coming lady, and she was like, oh my god, who's that piece of hot ass? And he was like, oh wow, she cute. They start that little romance. So she like falls deeply in love with Mr. Nansen, waiting for him to text her back late at night. But he dies. So they start their little romance, and in 1896 they get married, and she gets her famous last name that she kept forever and ever and ever. He wanted an open marriage, and now that might sound very scandalous and suspicious to you, which it does to me too, but she was also allowed to mingle with other people. She might not have been single, but she was allowed to mingle. Now I just look dead. So we're gonna go into the darker gray shade, and I'm gonna take like a firm brush and just start packing that on. He wanted an open marriage, but he like took care of her. He was pretty rich. He was like an established journalist. They have a daughter, or they got a daughter, but we are gonna pretend she doesn't exist right now. We'll get into that a bit later when she becomes relevant again to the story. Anyways, he wanted her to really settle into the life of wealth and socialiting. And she was like, bitch, I'm a fucking star. She landed a part at the Royal Theatre in an Ibsen play. Ooh, I'm almost going for like an old school look. So she spent a couple years at the Royal Theatre in Copenhagen, but it was mostly just like small parts, you know, not really the star quality she was looking for. She wanted to be a true star of the stage. Ow, poked myself in the fucking eye. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so she was like, okay, I want more roles. I want more of a challenge. You know, I want to have more control over my future. So this is not working out for me. I want to be the lady boss, just like my husband is the manly boss at his publishing firm. It's a little patchy here, but whatever. We're gonna deal with it. So she became the co-director of the People's Theater. Now, back in those times, points out, there were female directors in like province towns and like kind of like small towns and small little local theaters and stuff. So that technically wasn't new, but there wasn't really a whole lot of female directors in Copenhagen on big stages because this is the olden times. One of her shows, she changed the character from like this young, innocent woman to a dark and more mature and like, you know, emotional, deep character. So the writer of that play, Hammond Bank, actually showed up to the show. He like shows up, pissed off, is like heckling her on stage, you know, just kind of being an asshole. You know, he was just like yelling at her at the show, and she was like, at the same time, she was a smart woman and knew, you know, you can't go pissing off one of the most respected and famous writers. So she invites him back when she puts on another show to kind of unruffle the feathers. And she just took the damn high road. Like, this man was fucking ruining her show. And she's like, I am a cool, calm, cucumber queen. And you can go fuck yourself. Now, that's what I would have said. But, you know, she's clearly a little bit more in control of her emotions than me. They actually ended up having a really long friendship after that, both professionally and personally friendship. Anyways, although she did have more freedom at the Folketheater, she still felt like it wasn't enough, and her co-director would often go behind her back and like go to her husband instead of directly to her. So she was getting a little bit pissy. So she, you know, she stops and she goes around from theater to theater doing a bunch of shows. It weren't it, you know. This ain't it, chief. That's what she was thinking. I was trying to be very modern there. In this time, she's pretty like, fuck, what do I do with my life, right? So she writes a book, which unfortunately has been pretty much lost to time and forgotten about, but it was basically all about like girl power and how she, you know, she didn't need a man. She's basically very open, emotional book about how she needs to stop finding comfort in men and find comfort in herself, and all of this, like, really, like, I mean, if we read that book today, we might be like, preach, girl. Her and Peter at this time are having, that was the thinnest contour I've ever seen in my life. Fuck. So, at this time, her and Peter are having some difficulties. This whole open marriage shit isn't really working out the way she wanted. And the only reason she, you know, mingled with other people was that she was kind of hoping he would get jealous and, you know, start to really find her interesting again. But he didn't. Instead, he was just, like, focused on his work, drinking, socializing, doing a bunch of drugs, which I'm imagining puts quite the strain on your relationship. They got divorced and he actually took it pretty well, which, you know, like, shit happens. Guess that's not how you should view divorce. It just wasn't working out for the both of them, I'm guessing, and he was a little bit too wrapped up in his own shit. No mention of what the fuck happened to their kid, because she's just not, like, relevant. So after the divorce, she decides that she wants to become an international star. How can she be an international star with a heavy accent? Like, Game of Thrones isn't even out yet. It was silent movies. off out into the world she goes. So apparently in one of her movies, she's like dressed up in this kind of like cowgirl outfit, and she has like a lasso, and she like does a weird lap dance thingy on her co-star. This is not the most important information of the story, but yet it seems like the most important information of the story. So, around this time, Ole Olsen, he starts up Nordisk Film, which is our like biggest film production company still in Denmark. And he saw this like great opportunity to have the most famous one of the most famous stage actors in Denmark in his film, Cry on Demand, which is a great skill. I can just cry. She was great. She looked beautiful when she cried. And they fucking loved that, because then they could like get a close-up, which you couldn't, do on stage. So she recorded 9 movies in over 2 years, but eventually they kind of like had to deal with the fact that, you really couldn't pass off a 40-year-old lady for a 20-year-old 90210. So she eventually stopped doing film. I'm just gonna smoke out the lower lash line for a second. Out life. So she takes over with a business partner, takes over Frederiksberg Morskabsteater, which means Frederiksberg, that's a horrible translation of the place name, Enjoyment Theater, which is like it does like mostly like, kind of fun, comedy, silly, lots of beer shit. And she just like straight up renames it after herself. It's a small theater, and she really wanted to make theater that was like up close with the audience. I'm gonna do some neon-y shit here with my very colorful palette. She wanted to both put on, kind of classics, but also modern shows, and just really get like, I look fucking badass. Emotional up close with the audience. And also at this time, she was like banging men left and right. Again, not the most important information in the story, but also kind of the most important information in the story. Like, I love her. Bronzer. She was kind of viewed as this modern woman at the time. She was rich, she was liberated, she was artsy, she was smart, she was the boss, she wore the pants. She was like a walking commercial for the modern Danish woman, especially, probably not in like the small cities, but especially in like Copenhagen, this like boss lady attitude. It also gave her a lot of enemies. Anyways, so Betty's daughter, you might have heard me mention her once, because that's about how much they noticed that she was alive. Betty was not a good mom. That's another fault of hers. She was very much focused on herself. They had a difficult relationship. She hires her daughter at the theater as kind of trying to fix the relationship a little bit. And it goes pretty well until this yummy motherfucker shows up. And they both fall in love with him. Ooh, I forgot to mention, unfortunately, Peter died. I feel like it happens with a lot of men in my stories, and I'm so sorry, men. He just straight up fucking died. Anyways, Emmanuel Gregerson, the hot, yummy man who just came into their lives, they both fell in love, and it really fucked up their relationship. After that whole, kind of competition for a man's love with your own daughter, her daughter eventually went on to marry a rich guy who was actually like the grandson of the founder of like one of our really big department stores here. She kind of cut off contact after her daughter got married because, accordingly to history, the marriage stressed her out and she couldn't do it, so she cut her out of her life, which is... So yeah, her daughter went to Cannes and lived happily ever after in Cannes. I can't decide what lip color I should wear. Should I go nude? Because I feel like Betty Nansen was nude a lot. So I guess you could kind of say she was not a good mom. although she wasn't a good mom, you know, the perfect woman or anything like that, she was good at running a theater, and she was a real advocate for arts. She was also a real advocate for breaking up like stereotypes in art. So kind of going, a woman is not just in her 20s, sweet and innocent. A woman can be mature. Like, these are stories we need to tell. She wanted to put on a lot of modern pieces at the time. You know, she wanted debut art to be accessible to people. She has also vocalized the desire for art to be free, because you do not, in Denmark, you do not pay for your children to be educated. So why do the masses have to pay to be educated in the arts? Not that like people should perform for free, but that the government needs to understand the educational value in art and in stage performances, which I'm like, throughout history, a civilization has fallen. What has remained? The arts. Fight me on that one, bitch. Also, lots of other things has remained, but also the arts, okay? She did something good, not only for the arts in Denmark, but also for women. She really showed a female boss, like what that looked like, what it looked like to be liberated and rich and be in control of your own life. And she spoke a lot of things that we're still trying to advocate for today, which is that there is no standard female story. Like, there is no age in which women's stories become irrelevant, which they lose power, which they do not matter to people, which they should not be told. There is a huge problem with how age works in popular media as well on stage. And like, why does your career end when you're 35? Is it because you no longer appear attractive to men in a popular format? But like, you know, why are we only telling female stories for men? Why are we not telling female stories for women? Anyways, so all I'm saying is I agree with her. She ran the theater for 26 seasons until she died. God, my lipstick application gets worse and worse every day. To sum up Betty Nansen, like, she wasn't a perfect human being, but no one is. She was not only a front runner for modern women, but also a front runner for modern theater directors. And I think that is a huge, important piece of Danish history. And I'm so sad that I feel like so much of her history is so incredibly difficult to get a hold of. Like, why is her Wikipedia page not 5,000 words long? She was an incredible woman with an incredible rich life. And it's fucking infuriating that she's summed down to, 5 lines on the internet, and then you have to go buy obscure books to figure out more. Anyways, guys, that was it for me today. I hope you enjoyed that little get ready rant about another amazing, interesting, and powerful woman. And also, I'm pretty fucking pleased with my look. I think I look cool, okay? I'm down with them hip kids. Thanks. And remember to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like. If you have any additional information about Betty Nansen or another historical woman who you feel is kind of overlooked in the drowning history of men, then do let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you very much.